All right, welcome back to the County Gamers. My name is Aaron.
And my name is Chris.
You are not Batman, Chris. I know you keep trying.
Yes, I am.
No. No, you're not.
I just like the way the mic sounds.
Good for you.
Yep.
Okay.
I do.
Well, we're starting the podcast already off with some combative fighting across the table. We are actually at the home studio of the Create at Morgan home studio here in Fort Morgan. We're not in the regular classroom. You won't hear any bells ringing in the middle of our podcast.
Yes. Yes.
Class is not in session at this time, and it won't be until tomorrow. So me and Chris are back together once more to talk about gaming and everything else in between. The question that we've decided and landed on for today's opener is what late 90s, early 2000s band would you absolutely, without question, pay like $120 just to go see? Like you would bet the farm to see them live or whoever they are live and in person to hear that concert. I'm going to go with my answer because I already know what it was because I just did it. So Hanson. Hanson has been around for 30 years. They've been making music for a long, long time. And I got to go see them last night, or not 2 nights ago, whatever Friday night was. I got to see them at the Paramount Theater in Denver.
That was awesome.
And it was amazing. It's one of those things, so like I think I've talked about when I went and saw Weird Al Yankovic. I went and saw him in Denver at the Bell theater down there in the convention center area, whatever. And it was amazing. Like there's part of my childhood and my young adult life, or even like my middle school and high school life that revolved around Weird Al and revolved around Hanson. Yeah. And so like it's been a weird kind of like tour through my childhood, like concert wise these last couple of months, because I went and saw Weird Al and now I've seen Hanson. And it was nice last night just to kind of sit and listen to those voices. They've grown up, obviously. They're now, 30 plus years old. Yep. But the voice and the quality and the heart that's in their music and their lyrics and who they are, it's still there and it's still legit and it still makes me smile like a little 12-year-old boy and just jamming out to Mbop because I loved it. So yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. Like what's funny is I would not go see Backstreet Boys or NSYNC.
No, I wouldn't either.
I think it's because obviously I'm not their demographic. I'm also not Hanson's demographic, which is fine, whatever. but
True. Yep.
I thought about that after I got home from the concert. I was like, because Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, they've been through Denver a couple of times in the last couple of years.
They have.
But I've never been like, ooh, I want to go see them.
Yeah.
It just wasn't like. I mean, I jammed to them in my middle school and high school years, and I still go back and listen to some of the songs. But it's just not like, ooh, that's what I want to go do. But Hanson, it was like, yes, I need to check this off my list. I need to say that I went to a Hanson concert. Yeah. And put that on my list. So yeah, that's me. What's your late '90s, early 2000s band? And you can be okay with admitting something that is probably not expected. That you would admit to or not admit to.
So, back when I was younger, I was kind of like a boy band fanatic.
Okay.
Not that anybody knows that, but you know it now.
Now they do.
Now they do. And
the secret is out.
Oh, and I would sing to every song.
Yeah.
New Kids
on the Block.
On the Block.
Yeah. I had a
step by step.
I had a New Kids on the Block bedspread.
Oh yes,
I will freely.
That's awesome.
I will freely admit to that. I had a New Kids on the Block headset headset. That's what I'm wearing right now on my head with my headphones. But no, I had a bedspread, and
that's kind of cool though.
I don't know. I didn't really listen to music a lot. I mean, I knew of them and I was acquainted with them, and I'm also probably just blacking out the fact that I listened to New Kids on the Block when I was younger, and that I was actually a thing, and my parents bought me the bedspread because they thought I would like it. But I do have a memory of that. It's been gone for years, obviously. Yeah. But I do reflect back on that, and it was like totally like the album cover.
Oh yeah.
Very very much a New Kids on the Block kind of
cool
flavor. So there you go. There's Hanson,
that's
and
awesome.
This is fun.
Hanson's good though.
They have been releasing albums every year or so. They have put together a pretty good sized song library. So if you're out there and you're like, oh, Hanson, man, that's Mbop. Well, there's so much more.
There's a lot more, yeah.
and they have a lot of good stuff. So there you go. There's your musical challenge. If you don't know who New Kids on the Block are, stop, collaborate, and listen, which is an entirely different artist, and go get yourself some New Kids on the Block through Spotify or YouTube's, and then go to Hanson and check them out, because it's not just Mbop. They got a new album just out this last year called RGB, and it's a really cool thing that you should check out. So there's our musical portion of the podcast fulfilled.
Which is awesome.
Which is awesome. I'm trying to think, would there be anything else though? Like Hanson, like not even like Britney Spears or like Christina Aguilera, maybe.
She's good. Man,
like that voice is timeless. It's like it's like Adele. Like you want, like I could handle that voice.
Yep.
I don't know if I'd want to see Britney Spears live.
You know,
but she's just as good. Like it's not
good.
It's not a slam on her style or her ability or skills or any of it. It's just like, I don't know if I would want to pay to like experience that live. Now, Christina Aguilera, I would.
I would too. Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else from those days would I pay to see live.
You know, there's
Bare Naked Ladies. I would pay.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I would pay to see them live.
From that era, man, that's tough. It's very, very hard.
Because some of them aren't around anymore. Obviously,
Yeah.
They had a one-hit wonder.
Weird Al, I would love to see him live.
He might actually be. I can't remember what his show is in Greeley, but there's a show coming up, I think, in September. You have to check
Weird
out.
Al?
Yeah, because he was in Denver that couple months ago. But I think he circles back to Greeley soon or something like that. It's a good concert.
I would love to go see him.
It's a lot of fun. All right, well, there we go. There's your music portion, checking off the list. So hold on, put all your hands and feet inside the rat at all times. When we come back, it's time to talk. And we've got a list. We got a list of games. And, of course, the EA Sims 4 update is on the list, of course. We've got that. We've got that coming. And plenty more. And the Starfield updates are coming. Of course, so
I saw the trailer.
So much more to come. So buckle up, hold on, strap in, get ready. The County Gamers are coming back after we take this short exit off the highway. We'll be back on the road momentarily. All right, welcome back to The County Gamers. My name is Aaron.
My name is Chris.
You're just going to keep doing that, aren't you?
Sea Dog.
Sea Dog, Lord in heaven. Grant me the patience not to reach across and use a batarang on your face. Because I'm Batman. Anyway, I'm not sick enough. It sounds good, like I'm Batman. But when I'm really sick, it sounds amazing.
Oh, it sounds really good.
As we've discovered.
Yep.
Okay, so The County Gamers is traditionally a computer gaming podcast, right? We talk about that. However, last night, and I have the papers,
ASMR, y'all.
the paper. Yeah, that is something we will never do on this podcast.
Nope.
Because we won't do well at it. So last night we have a store here in Morgan County. It's over in Brush, Colorado, because we live in Fort Morgan, and Brush is about 9 miles down the road. And there's a store called Treacherous Waters, and Treacherous Waters is a new store that is basically tabletop gaming and RPG gaming, like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. Yeah. And the fact that it's been so successful, like I was in there on Friday in the afternoon checking it out, or no, Saturday in the afternoon checking it out, and like there were people coming in and checking stuff out, and kids coming in, and people asking questions.
Kids.
Yeah, there's a significant. They actually run. I think they run a D&D like kid game in the afternoons on Saturdays.
Darn.
When they have one of the girls, I think one of the owners, either daughter or something, she's the GM for the game. I want to swing around and actually experience that and just watch that awesomeness of kids playing D&D and having that as a part of it. Like, wow, I got to experience that. So then at 6:00 at Treacherous Waters, they run D&D Adventures League, so Dungeons and Dragons Adventures League. And there's different leagues associated with Dungeons and Dragons. Again, I am literally a newbie at all of this, so I'm going to be very mindful that when I say something, and you're probably out there going, well, no, that's not right. It probably isn't, because I don't know what I'm talking about.
No.
I had one night of D&D. That was it. I don't even think I earned a level is what I earned. I got to level 2 with my character. Woo-woo. Yeah. I didn't die. I came close though. So with Dungeons and Dragons, I know there's people out there, like when I was growing up, Dungeons and Dragons, there was a lot of church conversation about Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah.
and how it was of the devil and it was satanic and there's witchcraft and stuff. And I'm not here to take a position, or we're not here to take a position on any of that by any means. But when you look at just the straightforward Dungeons and Dragons, especially the Adventures League, like I created a character last night, and his name is Snickers because I was eating a Snickers at the time.
That's a good name.
Snickers is a fighter. He's a soldier. He's human. But you go through and you have to use the Dungeons and Dragons book, and you figure out, okay, here's my dexterity, here's my constitution, here's my intelligence, and then you get proficiency bonuses based upon your particular background or class or level. And so then you fill out, okay, here's my saving throws, here's my skills, and here's how that works. And then that goes into, you have to figure out what weapons you carry and how powerful your weapons are. Mm-hmm. And so, like, you can't see this, obviously, with the podcast because we're not video-based, but there's a full sheet of just like, okay, this is all of your numbers. And so throughout the evening, I would have to look at, okay, I need the GM would be like, okay, you're under attack. I need a constitution throw from everybody. So you'd pick up your 6-sided, 10-sided, or 5-sided, or 4-sided dice because there's various sizes dices, and you would roll that dice to then decide, okay, do I live or do I get injured, and things like that. And so the game is it's almost like a live wire. The GM is running it from his script and his his pieces where it says, okay, if they do this, you do this, and there's a whole method to the GMing situation or DM or whatever they call it. But you as a player, you keep track of you. So I started out, they call them current hit points. Hit points means how many points you have alive. Available. You're in the positive, you're okay. But throughout the game, based upon encounters you have, if you get like cut or if you get beat up or whatever, you lose those hit points. If you get to 0, you're unconscious. You're on the ground.
Oh, darn.
And if you get to negative, you're dead. But you can find, like, if you have a healing potion or if someone comes and heals you, they can save you and you can live again. So I started out with 10 hit points. I got 2 for my bonus or whatever, so I ended up with 12. I had 12 hit points. Yes. Not a lot, but it's enough. Then I got beat up by somebody, and I lost by -5. So I was down to 7. And then I got into another scrap with basically a tree fairy thing with a lot of force, and I got beat up by another 5. So I went down to 2 hit points.
Darn, you almost died.
And then... and then I got back up to 11 because we took a rest and I restored some points. And then we got to another scrap with a troll. And trolls can only be defeated by fire because that's just how they are. Mm-hmm. And so I had 11 hit points. I got beat up 11 hit points. So I was 0. I was unconscious.
Knocked out.
I was on the ground. And I was like, well, I'm dead. And they're like, well, no, you're not dead. You're just out. And then someone can save you. And I said, oh, okay. And so someone was like, okay, well, I can save him with this. No, I can save him with that. Okay, you have to choose. Each player's like, okay, well, I have this healing potion or I have this healing spell. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, if you use it, then you're out. Like, you can't use it again. But you might need to use it for someone down the road, and your hit points are this, and this person's hit points are that, so they might want to use their potion versus... And so there's a lot of collaboration amongst the team, because you're a group. There's 4, 5, or 6, and so you're all working together.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, sorry, I should have explained at the beginning. But you're all together as a team, and you all have your own character sheets, and the DM is like, okay, this happens. What do you do? And as a team, you have to feel like, okay, what do we do? How do we react? Who does what? And depending on your class, if you have fighters, then they're the punchers. They're going to punch. And then you have your clerics or your wizards or whatever you want to call them, and they have the power to spells and do things like that. Mm-hmm. But they do that from a distance versus your brutes. They have to get up close.
In your face, yeah.
And so we had varying discussions. So we had a situation where we got into a fight with a character. And they drew us in, and we had 2 characters up front with move into real close to the character because you actually draw out a map, like a simple little squares and rectangles. You put some figurines, and then you count the spaces. It's all involved. It's delightful. I loved it. But then now you've got your characters like rolling their dice and battling there. But you have your wizards or whatever, clerics or whatever. Again, I'm saying it all wrong because I only have one night of experience with it. But they're off at a distance, and one of the players was like, "Oh, I can cast this." And they're like, well, wait, what's going to happen is that it was an ice spike. So like a stab of ice or whatever, like an arrow of ice. The ice gets cast and it hits the enemy. But the second part of that spell is it explodes. And if any of your friendly characters are around that character that gets hit,
Collateral damage.
They'll get taken down too. And so we had to go like, oh, wait, maybe we can't do that. And we all kind of like, okay, no, we can't do that. So what else you got? Oh, I've got this. Okay, that doesn't cause collateral damage. Okay, cast that, roll the dice, here we go. And so there's a lot of conversation, a lot of planning, but you also like to get to act. You get to act as your character. So like, you get to kind of do some voices if you want. And that's, I think, where people kind of freaked out back in the day, where they're like, oh, well, you're pretending to be someone you're not, and you're saying, like, you're doing things and you're acting it out. And it's like, okay, whatever. Like, I get it. I understand the fear and I understand that. But what I experienced last night was nothing dangerous, nothing unpleasant or whatever. It was just fun. Like I didn't do much because I was just learning. But I have a adventure log sheet. I know. I started with 10 gold, and as a part of my adventure, I earned 50 gold.
Holy
so
crap.
I now have 60 gold as my character. I got one magic item out of the deal. I went up a level to level 2, and like I now can get ready for my next adventure coming next week on Saturday. So, and there's books that are guides, and you have sheets you fill out over time, and you can create new characters, and you can, because you don't want to have just one character you use. Sometimes you tonight I want to use the wizard, or tonight I want to use the bard, or I want to use the elf king, or whatever. Like that's the fun part about the Dungeons and Dragons experience. It's a varying kinds of experiences, and it was a lot of fun. Treacherous Waters in Brush, Colorado is legit. So Treacherous Waters in Brush, Colorado, they actually have some actual games like Monopoly, but with different kinds of settings, and they have Settlers of Catan. They have the expansion sets. They have Pandemic. They have a lot of cool stuff.
Pandemic.
Yeah. And they have that.
I've heard about that one.
And then then they also have there's certain RPGs where you have characters that you actually models you make. Warhammer 40K, which is a computer game that we know about, but there's the RPG tabletop piece, which is I think what came before. And so you build those models, and those models you have to take with you to sessions. Those models have ratings and pieces, so those are actually on the game board, and you then like push them forward. Okay, I'm putting this guy in the battle, whatever. So I have yet to explore the Warhammer 40K RPG stuff, so I'm totally talking foolhardy nonsense probably, but it's a really interesting idea that I'm exploring as a computer gamer, and I've never ever in my life until today done an actual like live RPG sit down with a bunch of people, and it was a kick. I really enjoyed it, which leads us to the conversation. There is a Star Trek role-playing game that you can do tabletop, and it's called Star Trek.
Come on, book.
I know. Come on. It's called Star Trek Adventures. And the book is it's beautiful. The book's
book.
Yeah. So they have like the explanation of, okay, here's the history of Star Trek. Here's the history of the Federation. Here's what the culture is. Here's all that. And then it's like, okay, now you're going to create either a space station, a starship. Where is your story going to be set? What kind of characters you're going to have? And there's just a bunch of guidelines on how to do it and how to make it happen. There's also a player's guide, which gives you, okay, here's the strengths, here's the weaknesses, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of fun. I haven't quite decided if I'm actually going to try and lead a Star Trek role-playing like tabletop game. If there's interest in it, I might give it a whirl. I've never DM'd before on a tabletop session, but it seems like something that I could learn. So yeah, Star Trek. I found that at the store. They have a lot of cool stuff, and I picked it up. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a whirl, see what happens.
It sounds fun though.
Yeah, it's weird being like. I think if I had been more willing as a high schooler to explore the D&D world, because at that time I was I was coming out of a more conservative church background, I think if I'd asked my parents, can I go do some Dungeons and Dragons, they'd have been like, yeah, okay, sure. But I had transitioned out of a conservative situation. And keeping in mind, I'm not talking about conservative churches now. Conservative churches in the 90s were different. Yeah, they were definitely different than what you think of in 2022.
Yep, that's true.
There was a lot of conversation about Harry Potter and D&D and a lot of that stuff.
Yep.
And valid or not, it's not our place right now that we're taking a position on either of those things, because that would just be, we wouldn't want to, again, it was 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, we don't do that.
It's not our job. But the point of it is that I think if I had been less exposed to those concerns and that kind of that rhetoric about, oh, it's bad, I might have probably tried out D&D when I was in high school and actually given like some experience to it. Because after I got out of high school, then I went to college for a year, and then I took a break and turned it into the 14-year break. But I never went back into that nerdy world. And I think if I had stayed in college and done all of that, and I probably would have found nerds to be a part of in the community if I had stayed.
Oh, yeah.
And I would have been pulled into something like that.
You would have. Yeah.
But I think it's all about what's in your community, who in your community knows and is engaged with like D&D or whatever. And then you find, like today with James. James is our podcast host
James.
on the Nerds by Screenlight. He's the guy who was like, yeah, I do this I do it on Saturday nights. You should come check it out. I'm like, all right, I'm in. Let's do it. And so that has drawn me into this world, and so now I'm just kind of like, this is for the first time in ever I'm doing it, and I wonder if my nerddom would have been different had I nerddom if my nerd soul or nerd whatever you're gonna call it, if my nerd I don't have a word for it, but it would have been different. Like would I have actually engaged in D&D and become more of a D&D person? And I don't know. I don't know. I suspect that there were D&D groups back in
I'm sure
the late 90s, early 2000s when I was in school.
I'm sure there was.
But yeah, it just kind of makes me think of like, man, I missed out on something like that. It's kind of cool that I'm kind of getting back into it now. But it's different. It's different as a 40-year-old being like, oh man, I have a lot to learn. Like there is a whole mythology behind D&D.
There is.
And the adventures thing is just a piece of it. There's other different realms or different games to be run. And so experiencing that is definitely going to be fun. So moving on from all of that, we turn now to Chris's Elden Ring experience as he continues, and we talked about it off the air before we stepped onto the microphones.
Yep.
And what is your biggest current takeaway from Elden Ring?
It's hard. it's so freaking so hard, man.
It's so much. When it comes from the Dark Souls,
Dark Souls,
the Dark Souls creators,
does,
and it's Dark Souls light, but in some ways it's not.
It's hard, man. Like, good. So, like the very first of the game, and there's a video coming on my channel very soon.
Yeah,
hopefully today. So what happened was, first I fell off of a platform. It's like when you first walk out of that little castle thing.
Yeah.
And you walk out in the graveyard. Well, I saw the guy. He was like a shadow.
Yeah.
He walked off the edge. So that's what I did. And it said, you died. And I'm like, what just happened?
You walked off the wrong ledge.
I walked off the wrong one. Yeah,
Apparently.
you're supposed to go to the left, not straight.
Okay.
So I did that, and then I got to the actual cemetery where the spider thing is.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like shooting arrows, tink, tink.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is not I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
He was, oh my goodness. Now, the good thing is I watched my son.
Yeah.
I have never seen somebody with such good reflexes.
Really?
Yes, he is excellent at that game. I watched him beat the boss.
Wow.
By himself.
What?
He had just started a new game and beat him.
Oh, jeez.
That was insane to see that.
Wow.
Shout out to Adam. You're awesome.
So this is a conversation that we can kind of sit in for a second.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of what people talk about with gaming YouTubers now.
Yeah.
Is as they get older, their reflexes and their ability to play those games is not as good because you get older, you lose that ability to do that intense gaming and quick response. Yeah. And so you're not going to be as good as you were when you were 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever.
I suck now.
And so like that's kind of the funny thing is that as the OGs YouTubers get older, like a PewDiePie and a Ninja and whatever, like there's going to get to be a point where it's just like they can't keep up. I mean, it's going to be more of a novelty, and they'll have to transition into being less of a gaming channel and more of like a vlogging or something else. Yeah. Because it doesn't work anymore to see them play games because you're just like, oh man, you're terrible.
That's a hard transition though. Think about that.
Yeah, because you're getting older. You have to accept, okay, I might need to get better glasses. You know, my response time isn't as good because that's just what happens when you get older. You lose that.
You do.
It's not like you're dying, but it's just like you don't have that youthful ability in able to do it. And no amount of like anything, exercise is going to bring that back because that's just how it goes. You get older and your body ages and you're not as responsive to that stuff. So I think that's like something that I struggle with too. And I've never been competitive with games. I told you I use trainers. I cheat.
Yeah.
I am freely admitting this right now.
He's admitting it.
I just don't care.
Yeah.
But I think like when I try and do it without trainers,
Yeah. You get so frustrated.
it's so
mad.
there's
annoying.
been some near rage quitting. So the Division 2 is a game that I can't. There's no trainers for because it's all some of it's online, so it prevents it from having a trainer. And so I've had to set the hard level like low, like making it really easy as much as I can. But even at its easiest, the Division 2 makes me work for it, and I am not as good as like somebody who's probably like a 21-year-old. Like,
true.
yeah, and you just I'm just like, I can't.
Man, we can't even keep up.
I can't keep up with that. So it's just kind of like it sucks getting older, but it also like it's kind of cool because all those retro games, those are still fun to play, and we've talked a lot about that.
They are. Yep.
Okay, so Elden Ring. What else you got on Elden Ring? How far have you made it?
So
He laughs.
So my son actually beat the boss. I didn't record it.
Okay.
He beat the boss. I walked in there and 2 hits and I was dead. I was dead. And so my son Isaac, he's sitting right next to me as you'll see.
Yeah.
He's sitting next to me laughing at me. Daddy, what are you doing? And I'm like rolling across the ground trying to get away from this fool, and he takes his big hammer thing and whack hits me right in the head. And it's just, but it's a beautiful. Mm-hmm. Oh, that game is beautiful, man. It's very hard, but I like it.
Yeah.
I do like it a lot.
They definitely did their homework in making that game incredible.
They did make it good.
And it's one of those things where I like when I go to play Elden Ring, like I am very intentional about setting time aside.
You have to set time
because it's worth just sitting in and enjoying.
It is.
It's not like a Grand Theft Auto or whatever. You just get in, you just start going. Like you enjoy exploring and seeing and hearing the game as you move through the environment, and that's again, it's that this is a really good kind of well designed game.
It is. It's hard.
But,
oh my God, it's so hard.
But I think that's the fun part is that it doesn't make it easy for you.
Yeah.
Like it makes you work for it, and it. You know, when you die, you lose all your grace, and you have to get back. So it sets you back a little ways.
Yeah.
You got to find your way back and pick up your grace again and get recharged.
Yeah.
And then you got to face the enemy again, and you're just like, oh. I have watched a lot of people online play Elden Ring when it first came out, and even the last couple times, where it's just like 4, 5, 6, 7 times they're dying.
Yeah.
And they finally figure it out because the game isn't predictable in how the enemies act.
Yeah.
They'll act one way, and then when you get back in and you try and do what they just did,
that's a fact.
They surprise you and they go the other way, and you're like, "But that's not the pattern."
Yeah.
But I think a lot of games
stick to the pattern.
Well, that's what a lot of games have done.
They have.
They've created this pattern of like you just sit in a corner in your stealth mode and you watch where the characters walk.
Exactly.
You go, okay, they're going to cycle back around. That's what they're going to do. And I get it. I get why they do that, but it's like that's not how normal people work.
No.
Normal people won't walk in a standard pattern. Like they'll go in and out and they'll check other places and whatever. And so I think what Elden Ring has challenged gamers is this is not a pattern based button masher.
Man.
You have to think ahead. As you're doing the thing you're doing, okay, what are they going to do next? They could do 1, 2, or 3. I got to be ready for all 3. And if you're not ready for all three things you're going to do, you're dead.
You're going to die.
Right, and you're going to die over and over again. But I think that it rewards you with good gameplay. Like you want to keep playing because the next, like your levels get up and you get better and you're able to beat bosses better.
Yeah,
you're able to fight better. I think Elden Ring is one of the best games in a while.
I would definitely agree.
Yeah.
It is. I like it because it's also it's well thought out. Like you can tell that they put a ton of thought into it. And me personally, that stupid boss. So I walked down into this little village thing.
You're still mad about it, aren't you?
Dadgum stupid bosses. And this wasn't even a boss. It was like there was like 6 soldier dudes.
Yeah.
One of them had a big spear. And I'm like, whack, whack, whack that. You're dead, fool. Eat that.
Yeah.
And then I walk down there, and this dude stabs me in the chest with this big spear. And I just fall over. I'm like, dude, what was that? You'll see. It's in the video. You'll see.
You're just like, and
I'm like, darn it, man. Come on.
It doesn't make it easy. It'll
No.
surprise you, and you're just like, why?
It's worth it. It's worth the $60. It's
And
worth
it is an expensive game.
it. It is.
But it's one of those games where you're like, yeah, I'll pay this much money to do this. Like, it's just that good.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, if you pay that for Modern Warfare,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
It's not worth it. It's
No.
buggy. It's buggy and a hot mess. All right, so Elden Ring, you should buy it if you haven't already and experience it, and get a controller.
Get a controller.
Yeah,
Yes,
because the controls on the keyboard is just, I don't even know how
it's a
they work.
friggin' nightmare.
Yeah.
Trust me.
It's not
Yeah.
it's not a good. So invest in a controller if you can,
Yeah.
so it makes it a lot easier.
I would.
A lot of gamers already do have controllers. I finally bought a controller for this purpose. Both this and WWE 2K22. So, all right, Mortuary Assistant, which is a game I am not familiar with.
Yeah, so this game's on Steam, and it has, let's see. Let me see if I can find. It's very positive. It has, all reviews are almost 2,000. They're very positive.
Okay.
This game, I first saw this game by Corey Kenshin, is who I saw play it. And
Okay.
I'm like, oh, you know what? Let's go buy that game. And I think I paid like $25 for it.
Yeah.
And so I get into this game, and the story goes is that you're a mortuary assistant,
Okay.
hence the name.
Okay.
So you go in there and you're like tying people's mouths shut and
Oh,
embalming them and all that
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
It's a lot more fun than it sounds. That's cool.
I'm gonna take your word for it.
But then there's this one part where I'm like, you have to take them and slide them into the cold storage and pull
Yeah.
them out and
Yeah.
embalm them and all that stuff. And then
Yeah.
there's this one part where I'm going up to the, I was like taking the cart and bringing it back to where the embalming machine was.
Yeah.
And something behind me, I let out a girl scream. I'll admit it.
Okay.
And it's an interesting game because it kind of involves you in the process of,
Yeah.
okay, you see these people, you have to put little patches on their eyes
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you have
yeah.
to close their eyes shut.
Yeah.
And you have to do like wiring their mouth shut and all
Yeah.
that stuff. It's just because you don't want somebody's mouth flopping open
Right.
in the middle of a
Funeral, right. Yeah. Yeah.
That would cause some hysteria, I would think.
That would be concerning.
That would. So I like this game because it's terrifying for one.
Yeah.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
It's very terrifying, but it involves you in the process of death.
Well, and that's something that like
It's interesting.
we're like, you talk to people like, oh, like what happens when someone dies? Oh, they go to the mortuary, those people do the thing, and then the body's put on display or the casket. But we don't really think, sometimes we just don't want to think about what's involved in the process of preparing a body for a funeral or for service.
Yeah, you don't think about that stuff.
And we're not going to obviously get into full details and gross you out here.
No.
But it's a thing to kind of, the mortuary job it's an interesting job. There was a television show on Netflix or something about a family who owned a mortuary.
Oh yeah.
And that was just like, I was like, it was like serious enough to be like, okay, but also like weird enough to be like, I don't know if I want to watch the rest of this. But it's an interesting idea because you think about like, yeah, the mouth. You have to make sure that the mouth is set, and the makeup, and there's a lot of things that go into to making sure that someone is made presentable for a service in memory of their life that is now gone. And so, the mortuary assistant, I'm looking at it on Steam right now. I will probably not buy it, and I will probably not play it.
Yeah,
just by looking at the images, but there's always that element of a game that makes it just that more interesting. Like you could do like a classic horror game where it's just scary. But it sounds like they're like, okay, no, yeah, you're going to be in a mortuary and there's going to be some really creepy and weird things going on.
Oh, yeah, it's creepy.
But you have the additional layer of, no, this is what you would actually do as a mortuary assistant. We're going to put the real life job in the game.
It's cool.
And so as you go through it, you're learning and you're engaging and you're discovering something that no one really knows about or that it's not commonly talked about.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a cool element of a game. It's like it makes it different. It makes it so much different from like a lot of the other like terror games that you play, which is just they're outright trying to scare you. They're just that's just all it is. But here it's like, yeah, there's a little bit of learning. There's a little bit of an experiential kind of thing going on here.
Yeah, I didn't know all this stuff.
Which I appreciate. So I mean, it's only $24.99, so maybe I'll buy it, and maybe I'll play it with all the lights on, like outside on the driveway.
I want a recording.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't even know if that's a good idea.
It's a good game,
I will just put my head down and be like, no more, sir, no.
I like that game.
All right, it is time for the Sims 4 update as to how the Sims 4 situation is going.
Here we go.
The videos from a lot of my Sims YouTubers that I watch have been unusually critical, continually critical. Continually critical. The high school update broke the game for a lot of folks, and the bugs were just notoriously awful. And then, like, the Sims 4 team wasn't addressing it, and then they started announcing these different packs, like, oh, we're going to put out this pack for kids' clothes that you've been asking for, and we're going to try and, like, put a Band-Aid on the situation. And so there's been a lot of, like, Band-Aid. Like a whole gauze band, like a full-on like tourniquet now at this point.
They're mummified.
Yeah, that's the state of the game right now. We need to mummify it to get it healed up. But a lot of the YouTubers are just like, they're just frustrated with EA. They're mad about the fact that this game that, it launched okay and it's had some good packs up until a certain point, but it really hasn't. And I was watching a video on YouTube because we've talked about Maxis and why Maxis for a long time was the standard for sim games. I mean, Simcopter, SimZoo. I mean, they made them all. They made everything. SimCity driving. You could drive through SimCity back in the day, and so they were the standard. And then SimCity, I think it was SimCity 4, which they came out with. That was the last game, and that was when EA had bought them out at the latter end of it. And it was okay. It wasn't like award-winning, but it was really a strong game. And then things like they started putting out the Sims games, Sims 1 and Sims 2 and Sims 3. And those were actually really good games. You go back and play. I have Sims 3 still installed. I managed to save it from all those years on my computer. You play Sims 3 and it's just incredible. It's like, okay, it all works. There's no bugs.
It just works.
It just works. It's the Todd Howard. It just works. Well, Todd Howard, your games don't, but The Sims 3 does. And YouTubers have talked about when they go back to The Sims 2, it's really hard to get a Sims 2 install because the game isn't for sale anymore, and you have to like have the disc. Anyway, The Sims 2 is actually almost a superior game with all its game packs to The Sims 3. Because Sims 2 represents a lot of the best of the Maxis and Will Wright and all of that stuff in there. Yeah. And then The Sims 3 continued that tradition and kept a lot of the pieces of it, and it worked out really well. And then The Sims 4 came out, and then there was the SimCity debacle. And how it was.
I heard about that.
And that's so. There's this kind of this fear. I think it's stated in some of the videos from some of the Sims 4 YouTubers, but it's also kind of unstated of like what are we gonna what is the Sims 5 gonna look like? Like if this is how you're treating your property, that we are paying money. Like the Sims 4 makes them money.
Oh, it does.
It's a money making game for them because
pit.
The expansions are insane. There's so many expansions right now, and they're all like $40 each. So you got like 6 or 7 of those things. Darn. So you're talking $240 easy on an expansion pack, spree, unless they're discounted.
Holy
and so like then you've got people going, well, this game isn't usable.
It's broke.
Well, and what some of the YouTubers were talking about is because it's a community of YouTubers that kind of interact sort of off and on.
Oh, gotcha.
But some of the YouTubers are saying like when they watch other like sim YouTubers, they're like they're not playing the game anymore. They're just building, because the building part of the game is still functional. You can still build a house and decorate and do all of that or build things. But they were saying is there's not a lot of people actually playing The Sims 4 for its gameplay because it's so broke, and I found that really fascinating. And there is no love lost between me and EA, and I don't think there's any love lost between anybody in EA at this point.
I hate EA,
but it's one of those things where like a once treasured like brand, Maxis was the brand. They were the Sim brand. They made incredibly unique and different games as they went on. Yep. And when EA finally got them to make the latest SimCity game, that whole launch, we've talked about it ad nauseum, was terrible with the always online option, which didn't really work. The cities were small, but it was almost felt like a mobile game in some ways, but it just wasn't good. It wasn't good. They tried to modernize and they overcorrected, and they didn't really admit that they were at fault until much later when they finally removed the always online option and they tried to release a DLC, and The DLC was okay, but it didn't address the fact that the cities were small. So City Skylines from Paradox dethroned them and has taken over the city, like the city builder.
Yep.
City Skylines is the gold standard no matter what you do, no matter where you go. You will always end up with City Skylines at the top of that list. And City Skylines, it's good. Now it's getting to a point now where the DLCs are kind of getting repetitive. And that's usually a sign with Paradox. It's like, okay, it's time for a new game. It's time for City Skylines 2. So there's been a lot of talk in the comment section of the game, of the reviews and of the DLCs. Hey, where's City Skylines 2? We need to start looking at that because it's the blandness of it is not going in the direction that it could, because you can only do, it's an older engine, it's an older game.
True.
There's only so far you can go. I mean, God bless Bethesda and Skyrim. They put it on every single thing you could put it on and kept reinventing it on an old engine that was really flawed and really shouldn't have been used over and over, but it got used anyway. So there's The Sims 4. It's still it's still a piece of trash. It's still burning in the thing. It makes me sad because I am a longtime simmer. I have owned all of the original Sim games. I've owned all of the Sims 1, 2, and 3, and 4. I have owned. I've owned. And I look at it and I go, what happened? Like, you think about Sim Tower. Sim Tower was so much fun. It was so unique. It was so cool, and there were unique challenges, and you could do all this stuff. Where is that company now? Well, they don't exist. They don't exist anymore because they've been taken over by EA. So there's your Sims 4 update. It's just kind of sad. Visage. We've talked about this a little bit.
Oh yeah, Visage. That's one of my favorite games. So this game, like I've said in the past, has multiple stories, so on and so forth. And I tried to play it again today. This little girl will not stop killing me. Dadgummit. Even when I point the camera at her, take a picture, she still wants to kill me.
Right.
I have yet to get past any of it. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Okay.
It's a good game, though.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting story. Very interesting story.
It's more of that horror kind of scary
Yep.
kind of game, which is interesting. We've talked about how there are a lot of them out there, and you have to be very mindful of the ones you choose for quality. Otherwise, you just end up buying a whole bunch of just dreck.
Yeah.
You just get a whole bunch of junk. And
Visage is good.
Okay.
It's good.
I'm not going to say I'm going to buy it or put it on my list. But it's going on a list somewhere. I'm not sure where. All right. So
my no-fly zone list.
Not going to go near it. Might watch it on a YouTube video with all the lights on the lawn in the bright sunshine kind of thing. State of Decay 2.
Interesting.
So here's the story with State of Decay. When State of Decay 1 came out, it was okay.
Yeah.
It was all right. It wasn't the best, but it was a new kind of idea in zombie survival horror.
Yeah.
And it was you build your base, you get supplies, you have to go and ransack abandoned houses, and you have to kill zombies on the way, and you have to manage the hordes that are coming after you, and you have to rescue others and build and all this kind of stuff. And State of Decay 1, it wasn't really well supported. It kind of just petered out. It was just like, okay, whatever, we're done now.
Yeah.
State of Decay 2, however, has been an incredible game.
Graphics look really good.
Yeah, they've come a long way. It's called State of Decay 2 Juggernaut Edition, and it is an absolute delight to play. And the thing is that they update the game every month or so. Well, every couple of months. They just updated on August 22nd with their 30th update, mind you. 30th
Holy
update.
crap.
Now, update number 30, Forever Communities. And what it allows you to do is once your story in a community ends, you can then say, I'm going to continue telling this story, and then you'll move to the next community in the list and start again, but you'll have all your stuff, so you'll be leveled. You won't have to start over, and you'll just begin your next story in the uniqueness that is that community and the challenges that are present and stuff like that.
So you're basically, it's a game where you build a community out.
Yeah, and you destroy the zombies, you destroy all the plague hearts and the infestations. You clean the city, clear the city, save everybody, and then once you've got the city restored and everything's good and you're in a good place, the game says, okay, you've met your goals, you've done your thing. Do you want to end the game and go to another community, or do you want to take all the stuff you've earned and go to the next map? And that is what allows you to do it. And it's really a lot of fun. The graphics are cool. They're talking about State of Decay 3 is going to probably be using like the Unreal 5 or whatever, Unreal 6 or whatever's next. So that's hopeful. It's a lot of fun. It really is uniquely entertaining, and it's by Microsoft. So Microsoft, the Undead Labs is underneath them, and it's surprisingly pleasant. Like I enjoy fighting and enjoy like discovering, and each character has unique traits. Like this character might be a good, gun player. This might be a good melee fighter. This person's got medicine skills. This person's got mechanical skills. And based upon that, you can then use that to build unique things.
Oh, got you.
So Undead
sounds cool.
State of Decay 3 has been announced at least and is in development. And will probably be on the way. So it's a fun little game. Like when I need to go enjoy myself, I'll boot up State of Decay 2.
Looks good.
And enjoy it. All right, Flight Sim.
So, here we go.
The ongoing journeys of Chris and Flight Sim.
One of the best games I've ever played by hands down.
Okay.
Aaron, you remember what you said to me?
Yes.
You abominator. You said some stuff, and you were right.
Yes.
After I played it, oh my goodness.
So you're no longer using mouse and keyboard.
No, nor controller either. I'm using a Flight Sim. So it's a joystick and a throttle. It's a Flight Sim package.
Yeah.
And so made by Logitech. It's the Logitech GX56, I think. Pro is the one And oh my goodness, this game is so sweet. Okay. I got to tell this story. There's an airport that I've been trying to land at for the last week.
Okay.
Not that I'm embarrassed. And so it's like one of the flight challenges. So you have flight challenges and you can land or take off. So I chose the landing ones.
Yeah.
And it's Jackson. And so this stupid airport, I have tried to land this plane at this airport 45 times. I am not exaggerating.
45, okay.
45 times. I hit the runway twice.
Okay.
And I almost got it the last time I played it. I rage quit. I'm like, I'm done with this crap. This is stupid. I just cannot land this plane at this airport.
Right.
And it's because I think it's because I'm making too big of a correction.
Yeah.
Right at the end because I'll see that I'm not directly lined up.
Yeah.
And I'm moving the joystick to the right, y'all, in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
And the plane does almost a barrel roll. And I'm like, Dad, blame it.
Chris, I'm not a pilot by any stretch of the imaginations or an aeronautical expert by any definition in most books and experts. But that's not how you fly.
That is not how you do it. No.
That's no.
And I'm exaggerating. I mean, it doesn't do a barrel roll, but it once you get it, it takes time to move the plane and get the direction that you want to be in. That's why it's important to do it over a period of time.
Yeah.
Instead of right at the end. Which I do that, and then I look and I see that I'm off, and I'm like, oh, crap. What am I going to do now?
You're going to crash, apparently.
Yeah, that happens too.
Okay.
But it is still the most fun.
Yeah.
I love that game. Yeah. That game is my absolute favorite. I flew to Everest the other day. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It's just a fun game.
So I was watching. I do a lot of YouTube diving on the weekends and in the evenings, and I watched a video that basically traced the history of Flight Simulator.
I think I watched the same one.
Flight Simulator is it's 40 years old.
It is.
It came out in '82, the first edition.
It did.
So Flight Sim is as old as I am, which I don't know how to feel about that quite yet. I'm working through it. I've got a therapist appointment next week. It's going to be fine. But like, you look at the early versions and it's like you just go, what? But
it's basic.
It's basic, but it was so cool in how they innovated and how they kept going and trying and making something new. And then the last one that happened was Flight Simulator X, and that was years and years ago. And people were just wondering, when's the next Flight Sim? And when this one came out, like we've talked about before, like it was just bonkers. It was an incredible innovation and an incredible... And for a lot of Flight Sim fans, because there are a lot of them out there who have been keeping this game alive throughout the years, it was just a dream come true. People were just like, this is what we've been asking for.
Great,
this is what we want. And the cool thing is that now that they've got it, they can continue to improve it, continue to add it, and it just will continue to grow as a game. And I'm certain this game is going to be last around for a long time.
Great game.
Oh yeah, Flight Sim,
so great.
It's relaxing too, just to sit in your little chair and you can fly your plane and you can just course correct. And there's something like, there's something about some games like that where you just can cruise around and just have fun.
Yep.
And there's not a lot of consequences. You just get to have fun and enjoy yourself. And, there's no like, oh my gosh, there's a fighter plane at 3:00. It's just, no, I'm just flying through the clouds of Mount Everest and I'm on my way to the airport and I'm going to get there. And
Hopefully.
for Chris, hopefully.
For me, it's probably not.
We're
Have you tried the Maverick package yet?
Yeah.
Ooh, I actually did better with that than I did with the other stuff.
That's concerning. You're a fighter pilot, apparently, in another
Yes.
life.
Yes.
So what he's talking about is that Flight Simulator released for Top Gun Maverick. They released you could fly a jet plane, a fighter plane, and all kinds of stuff. And the fighter planes are just fun to fly.
Yeah,
they are.
So fast.
They react in the way that you expect them to react, and it's just fun when you get to like pull up and you see the sound and.
As it's breaking the sound barrier. Oh, that is so cool.
It's just fun. So yeah, and I think I've landed the jet successfully once or twice.
I did once.
But it's a whole nother animal versus like a 747. All right. Skull and Bones is the game coming from Ubisoft, and I'm concerned about it. What I'm seeing from press and what I'm seeing from YouTubers is they're kind of worried about it too. They're kind of like, okay, this isn't looking great. Like the depth of design when you like land on the islands and like how deep the story goes and how much repetition there may be versus original content.
No.
And that's always a danger with open world games is you end up having to do more of like the side quests and stuff like that, and they get very repetitive. The big complaint about the new Saints Row was it's just a lot of side quests to get where you need to get in the main story, and it's repetitive. It's not different. It's just copy paste.
Good Lord.
And so I'm objectively concerned about. I love pirate games. I've been playing them since Bethesda put out the junky Pirates of the Caribbean back in the day when it was Sea Dogs 2, and I'm just
Sea Dogs.
It was like this, and we've talked about this. People think, oh, well, Bethesda, they've just kind of become a bad company. It's like, no. I'm old enough to know when Bethesda was Bethesda, and they put out Pirates of the Caribbean, which they made a deal with Disney to make. It was Sea Dogs 2 originally.
Yep.
And then they just copy and pasted certain elements from the movie into the game, and it was a buggy mess. And yeah, it's anyway. So I'm hopeful for it. There have been a lot of Age of Sail games. And it's been really good. So I'm hopeful for Skull and Bones. It's basically what they've done is they've taken Assassin's Creed and they've pulled out the Black Flag content that's on the land, and then they just basically made they've taken out the Black Flag content and basically used that only. So there's no Assassin's Creed in it.
Yep.
It's just the Black Flag stuff. So
darn.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like we've talked about this over and over. Like you're not confident in games right now.
I'm
like
not.
The games that they're putting out, you're just kind of like, is this actually going to be any good? And the answer is generally not.
Oh, so back to Ubisoft.
Yeah.
So I have the Game Pass, right?
Yeah. Okay.
And so I've been wanting to play Far Cry 5.
Yeah.
They have it on the Game Pass.
Yeah.
But it uses the Ubisoft Connect app.
Oh.
It does not work.
Oh no.
I've tried it 4 times, uninstalled it, reinstalled it.
Yeah.
It does not work. The app does not work.
What?
It says it's already been connected to another account. I'm like, which account?
Oh, I've had that happen to me. So I had to actually get in touch with them when that happened because I had 2 email addresses registered through Ubisoft, and I had to find the original email address and not the one that I was trying to use because with Steam and Ubisoft they don't connect terribly well. And so I wrestled with that. I think it was Bridge Commander was my original issue.
Oh, yeah.
Not Bridge Commander, but Star Trek Bridge.
Whatever that bridge one was.
Yeah, the new Bridge Crew was the one they put out. And so I was getting that whole thing figured out. They don't make it easy, and it's frustrating beyond belief.
Stupid.
And Far Cry 5 really isn't worth that playthrough, to be honest.
My boys like it.
I think it's dumb. I think it's
I would probably
the way the story ends. It's not. There's no point. Like everything you've done doesn't matter because everything blows up.
That's the one you were telling me about.
Yeah, and it makes me so mad because I'm like, look, I did all this work, all these hours of playthrough, all these enemies defeated, and I don't get the ending that I want. You're still gonna blow up the world. What's the point? What if I just spent all this? And so, like, and I know I'm probably in the minority here, but I have not bought Far Cry 6, and I will not buy another Far Cry game.
I won't either.
Because it's like I paid you. And then you cheated me out of my experience.
That's what they did.
Well, and the thing is the game is the everything up until that point is fine. Like it's cool, it's crazy, it's fun. But then everything I did doesn't matter. Like,
So
what's the point of
stupid.
playing? Like, don't subvert my expectation. If you subvert my expectations enough that I don't want to do it anymore, you're done. You're done, Ubisoft.
Yeah.
You're done messed up.
I don't like them. I don't like Ubisoft.
It's weird to like because it's Ubisoft, it's EA, it's all these companies that are just making terrible
the bigger ones.
Yeah, and they're making terrible games or they're not making great gaming decisions, and the gamers are the ones that are suffering for it, which is part of why that independent streak on Steam and other platforms, independent companies are really bringing in the money because they're able to like get what they want. They're able to get content. So.
Yeah, that's insane. I'm sure Ubisoft was good at one time, but
I
don't ever remember if they were or not. It's hard to say. I mean, I'm sure they were.
Like Watch Dogs 1 was interesting. Watch Dogs 2 was an innovation. Watch Dogs 3 was just kind of like, okay.
Copy and paste.
Same thing. Yeah, it was just another, we have all of London to explore. Woo! But it just kind of, I don't know. It just, and it's really sad because the state of games should not. And I think I was watching another YouTuber, and they were talking about the state of the games this year have just been disappointing. Like, there's nothing to get excited about. I mean, Angry Joe Show did a review of Madden, the new Madden. There's no new features, just copy and paste.
I hate.
And he was upset. He was furious. He's like, "Why does this keep happening? Why do you keep doing this? This is not new. This is all the old animations. This is stuff you took out of Madden 4 years ago, and now you're selling it as a new feature when you just pulled it out of the code and threw it in there.
Yeah.
They're
lazy."
And that's the thing that I think is making a lot of gamers upset and furious and frustrated because they're giving good money for these games. Mm-hmm. So Last of Us, did we talk about Last of Us Part 1, the remake?
No, I know we talked about the first part, but I don't know if we talked about the remake.
They made, oh my gosh. So they made Last of Us Part 1. They've come out with it's not a remake, it's like a refresh where they updated the graphics and some of the gameplay, but it's $70. So this game this is the third edition of the game. Crap. The original game was the first game that came out. The second game was a remaster, and this is like the remastered perfect edition or whatever. I don't know what they're calling it.
Perfect edition. That's probably what they call it.
Shiny.
Platinum edition.
Give us money. But a lot of YouTubers who have played through it have just been like, I paid $70 for this. Like,
I'd get a refund.
I'm just, well, at a certain point you can't because you played it for so long.
Yeah.
But they were talking about like all the fact that there have been 2 editions before this and one was a remaster. The fact that apparently my day today is ASMR drinking of Mountain Dew.
Yes.
The spark is helping me get to
sounds
the show.
Cool.
It's the spark. Get you through a podcast. I don't know. We're not sponsored, but there you go. Call me Mountain Dew.
Could be.
don't actually call me. I don't think that'd be a good idea. To be sponsored by a caffeinated drink full of sugar and. So what they talked about is that there were a lot of features that happened in Last of Us Part 2 that wouldn't have been that hard to put inside of this final remaster. Mm-hmm. Like you could break windows in Last of Us Part 2 and climb through them. In Last of Us Part 1, that feature didn't exist.
You couldn't.
But when they went through and did this remaster, repolish, whatever, like a lot of the YouTubers were like, they can do this. They could have done this. It wouldn't have taken much work.
No.
And so what's interesting is a lot of YouTubers, a lot of people turned on Naughty Dog when Last of Us Part 2 came out because of certain plot elements that happened that were just a disservice to the original characters.
Yep.
But what's interesting now is a lot of those previous cheerleaders who were like, yeah, no, Last of Us Part 2 is great. It's a great game. They're turning on Naughty Dog. And they're like, this was a lazy remaster.
There you go.
You didn't do anything new. You just made it shinier and you added some gameplay elements, but it's like it's bits and pieces. It's not like, okay, the structure of the game now reflects the functionality available in Part 2. That would have been a significant change.
That would have been
and
good.
An addition.
Yep.
And whatever. But what they didn't do that. And so it's really interesting to look at Naughty Dog and go, has Naughty Dog, for whatever reason, in this latest moment, have they stepped into EA, Ubisoft, and everybody else's territory by making this dumb remaster that didn't even need to be needed because you'd already done a remastered edition?
Goodness gracious.
And so, like, I have not played Last of Us Part 1. I have wanted to for years.
It's a good game. You can come over.
I've heard it's amazing. But now it's like I don't want to pay $70 for an edition that I don't like. I could buy the other editions and be just fine, and I wouldn't have to worry about it. So it's just kind of one of those things where I was watching these YouTubers, and they're like, they split their video up and like, okay, here's the good stuff, and then here's where I got mad. And the mad part is like 20 to 30 minutes of just being like,
oh, that's
here
bad.
is why I'm mad. And it's not like ranting and raving. It's specific, detailed complaints about like you had the time and the ability to fix this, and this, but you didn't. Those like in The Last of Us Part 1 is an older game. It's been around for a long time.
I have it on PlayStation 3.
Yeah, it's not a new game. And so their point was, look, you had the time and you have the money. Naughty Dog is not a broke studio. They got power.
Yep.
But the fact that that's what you did, that's how you ended up like the finale. Like this is the final edition of the game.
Yep.
Last of Us Part 1, final edition, signed, sealed, delivered, nothing more's coming. Here it is, and it's nothing but a few pieces like tacked on to make it look better, and it doesn't. That's because so you're stupid. Like, that's a wobble. That's not even not even standing up straight.
Crooked.
Yeah, it's a little crooked. It's a little. You
crooked,
need to. Oh no, we don't want to do that. We can't. We don't have the time. Okay. So there's a lot of people out there who are a little upset at Naughty Dog for it, and I like as a gamer to have that kind of thing for it to be $70. It's like
that's stupid.
It is, and it's one of those things where you just kind of look at them and you go, did nobody think to call a couple of gamers and say, hey, what do you think about this? Is this going to go well? Would you pay $70 for this? And if they had called me and said, here's what were the features that we're adding, I've been like, nope. And that's it. That's all you got. What are you going to need? Any more?
Give you $2. Nope.
Yeah, I'll give you $3. If that, $3.50. We'll see if we can call a deal on $3.50.
I wouldn't go that high.
Right. So it's one of those things where it's like as a gamer, you're just like, all right. And I think there's that growing sentiment among a lot of gamers that these major companies just don't care.
They don't care.
And that's not a good thing because eventually someone's going to fill in that space. Someone's going to find a way, and they already have. I mean, the Sims game, Paralives, is a competitor for them. Mm-hmm. They are starting to, they've been putting out videos every month about here's the new features for Paralives. And it's a Sims, kind of a Sims-like game, but it's got different ways of doing it that are a lot better than what the Sims do.
There you go.
And
take their business.
And that's the other thing is that you have a lot of games out there where modders will make their games better and fix them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, why don't you just pay those guys to fix your game?
Yeah, just pay them.
That's all it takes. Especially with The Sims 4.
Yeah.
There have been modders at work on The Sims 4 for years. And the expansions that have been buggy, they've gone in and they've released, hey, here's a mod that will fix this part. And it's just, you look at it, and it's been years since that came out, and you're like, why doesn't EA just buy it? Hey, we'll pay you. We'll pay to license it.
We'll hire you.
We'll hire you to code our stuff because apparently we can't do it very well.
Nope.
And it's frustrating because it's just continually, as a gamer, just kind of being pushed away and ignored. And it's not good for these companies because eventually the people are going to run out. Okay. So much still to talk about a little bit. I'm going to switch over to you for Warzone because apparently you have feelings about Warzone.
No, I do have feelings. So my dad used to get so mad when he was still alive. He would get mad because, so they had this map called Verdansk.
Yeah.
Which was the best map ever.
Yeah.
Why did y'all get rid of that? Why?
Because they're evil and they don't
like
they're
you. Satan. That's why.
Satan!
The devils.
Yeah, there you go.
And so what happened was they did away with Verdansk.
Yeah.
Now this was after my dad died.
Okay.
They did away with Verdansk. He would be he would say, I'm never playing the game again.
Yeah.
That's absolutely what he would say. So I think it was yesterday, I was going to play Plunder. So Plunder is where you run around and you get a bunch of money.
Yeah.
My favorite way to play.
Yeah.
They just did away with it again. That's like the 5th time. They do it all the time.
What?
Every week or two, they will do away with a part. You'll get used to playing something, and then they throw it out the window, and they give you something else. And you're like, what is this bull?
What are they? What?
So basically yesterday, we were playing, me and my brother-in-law, we were playing, what was it? I think Rebirth.
Yeah.
For Call of Duty people out there, they know what that is.
Yeah.
And Rebirth is okay.
Yeah.
But when there's 2 of you and you're playing against 4 people.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that before?
No.
It sucks. You get murdered. That's what happens.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so we there's no option to do more than like 2. You can't do 2.
Yeah.
But then they added this one mode that we really like called it's where you're diffusing bombs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You can plant bombs or diffuse them.
Oh, okay.
And so that's a mess too.
Right.
But it's fun because you go to like the bomb site
Yeah.
and there's like 20 people going to this one site.
Yeah.
You're just bullets flying all over the place. It's fun. That part's fun, but I wish they would. There's talks that they're going to bring Verdansk back.
Oh, okay.
If that happens, I'll be a very happy man
Right.
because that was my favorite one.
Right. Well, it's funny. Like companies will do this. They'll like take modes away.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why? Like
What? Stop it.
Well, and it's the question of it is like, okay, are you that hard up for storage space on your servers?
Yeah.
Or is it like, what is it? What did you own the servers? Like you own, like,
Yeah.
why? And it's that idea of like, well, we're going to create demand. We're going to create, we'll bring it back when it's like a season. It's like,
That's
no,
so
I
stupid.
paid you for a working game. I paid you for a game that I could then play and use all the features for, and now you're taking them away from me? Like what in what business world? Like if you went to buy a fridge from Sears,
Take
which
the doors
I don't
off.
even know if they exist anymore.
They do.
Okay,
Barely.
they're still alive. Good.
Yeah, barely.
Good for Sears. But like you wouldn't go and buy a fridge from Sears, bring it home, plug it in, and then like I don't know, a month later, Sears shows up and says, we need that refrigerator back. I'm sorry, what? We need the refrigerator back. I paid you for it. We're going to upgrade it. Wait, right now? Yes, we need
working.
I need a fridge now, but it's working. It's fine. We need to upgrade it. We need to replace it with what? We'll get that piece to you soon. I don't. Wait,
We're not telling you.
We're not telling you. When do I get it back? Well, we don't know when that's going to happen. Like you would just lose your mind. You'd be like,
kind of how it is.
You'd be like, get out of my house, you crazy people. What do you think you're doing? But that's what gaming companies have normalized.
And-
They've normalized. Oh, we'll remove these features and then we'll bring it back and we'll cycle it in and it's the new season.
So
And it's just
stupid.
it is infuriating, and I don't
Yes.
understand it. And I know that some of you out there are listening are just like, why are you getting excited about this? Here's the reason. There was a time when this wasn't acceptable. No game company would do this. They
No, they
released the
wouldn't.
game, the stuff was there, and you got to keep it. There was no removing of features or, oh, we're going to change it and create demand. And whatever. No, you had the game, you owned it, and even
It's yours.
multiplayer, like you got to play multiplayer.
Yep.
This wasn't a thing. And so the fact that it's been normalized and has become just a process and a part of our gaming culture, it's just like, why are we doing this? What is wrong with us? What are like who's like somebody out there made this okay because they keep buying this stuff from them, and I just want to put my head through it. Sometimes I'm just like I don't, and that's why I don't like buy a lot of new games, or I don't.
Yeah.
Like I was looking at the new Mafia remastered edition.
Oh yeah.
Mafia 1 and 2 got remastered, and then they made obviously Mafia 3.
Yep.
And I've been thinking about picking them up just because like I want to play Mafia. I love the original Mafia. I played the original Mafia.
It's a good game.
I love the Mafia 2. It doesn't end on a happy note on either game, but it's a lot of fun to just play and experience. And so. But that's not a new game. Those are remasters.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of new games out there. I'm like, ooh, let me play that. Let me go rock that out. And there's not like I boot up Steam and I don't see a lot on the store that I'm like,
No.
ooh, let me buy that. Because it just doesn't. There's not a lot out there. There's not a lot of interesting games that are, ooh, I want that, or I'm looking forward to that. I mean, we've talked about Starfield. We're not looking forward to Starfield. We're worried about Starfield.
I'm worried about it. Yeah, I saw the trailer and it's
The graphics are not modern. They're
not.
They're old.
They look old.
They're not shiny like they need to be. Like the game's been under development for so many years. You're like, this is the best you have. So yeah,
sad, man.
Yeah.
Like, and my boys, they wanted me to buy Modern Warfare 2.
yeah.
And I'm like, where can I get it?
Yeah.
But it's not out yet. You want me to
Pre-order
for a game that
is-
I can't even play?
Yeah.
Oh, here's what they said. They have a beta version. So I'm paying for a beta version.
I'm paying to play your game for you.
That's so why the frig would I do that? I am not doing that.
Yeah, that's
No.
dumb.
No,
well, and that's
no,
what
thank
they'll do it. They'll be like, oh, you can pay extra or pay early and get the game released a couple days early. It's like, yeah, so then I can play your game and make sure it works, and then report the bugs, and then you'll fix it on a day one patch.
I'm not. You pay me.
You pay me to be your game tester. This is not how this works.
That's stupid. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I just
Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
We're ranting.
We're ranting. confusing. And there's like, because there's not a lot out there, right?
There's not.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, whatever. Like I went back and played. I've gone back and I'm playing Dragon Age Inquisition. Loving
It's a good game.
Loving the storytelling. Loving the ways that I can just I can go through the story at my own pace, and just the game is lovingly created. And there's people out there who don't like the game, whatever. I love the narration. I love the characters. I love exploring. I love the fight mechanics. It's everything that I want in a game. I don't have a game out there right now that I'm looking forward to playing like that.
No.
Like there's just not
story-wise.
Yeah, there's nothing really exciting out there. So we'll finish out. We won't talk about the Disney Marvel showcase because apparently that was just a disaster of mobile games, and I don't want to talk about mobile games because I don't want to give them oxygen because I think they need to go away.
I think they need to die. Just die.
Mobile games. I don't play them. I know there's people out there who are like, yeah, well, everyone else plays them. It's like, okay, congratulations, but not.
Very good for you.
They're not. Yeah, good for you. Congratulations. Get a gaming PC and let's talk. That was me. That was a little bit mean. I apologize.
That was good. Though.
I'm not a fan of mobile games. I think there needs to be like a definite line of like, look, you produce half and half. But from what I understand, the reports coming out of the Marvel Disney showcase it was like 2, maybe 3 PC games, and the rest were like mobile, like 5 or 7 mobile games. It was disappointing across all borders. The announcement that came out a couple days ago, though, the one that I'm very interested about and very excited about, is Assassin's Creed is going to Japan.
Yeah, there we go.
Now here's the hope I have for this game. So I played Assassin's Creed Origins, and I got to a certain point in the game, and I was just done because I couldn't climb a certain thing, and it was so, I don't know if it was bugged out, or I just didn't know what I was doing, or it wasn't telling me, or whatever, but I gave up on Origins. I was like, I'm done. The next game I played was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I love Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
I've never played that one.
It is an absolute joy to play. It is the story is so rich. The DLCs they have are just incredibly different, and you meet Poseidon. You get there's so much going on, and it's so beautifully designed that it's just I love going around in Assassin's Creed Odyssey because it's just such a fun game to play. My hope and dream is, because when they announced Assassin's Creed Japan, is the studio that developed and made Odyssey is the one in charge of Assassin's Creed
exactly
Japan.
What it says here.
So that brought me hope because as much as I didn't mention this last time, but I went back and played Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I went back in to play it again. And it's gotten a little bit better. Like I feel not, because I'm not going on raids, and so I've kind of just avoided that. I've just played the game straight and done my exploration. And so that part of Assassin's Creed I love. I love being able to choose where I go and do what I want to do. And I don't have to do the raiding because I don't feel right raiding a church and beating up on people.
No,
it's not my jam.
No.
But Valhalla, it still doesn't have that impetuous to play for me that Odyssey did.
Yeah.
With Odyssey, I was like, I want to meet the next bad guy. I want to find this jerk. I want to kill this. I'm gonna make this man pay or this woman pay. It's on. This is bad. With Valhalla, I'm just like, I'm the invader.
You're the bad person.
I'm the bad person.
Yeah.
I don't. And yeah, you're getting rid of other bad people, but I'm not a good guy here. And with Odyssey, it's just like, oh, I'm really fighting for the rights of people. I'm fighting for people's freedom. I'm fighting for my family. I'm fighting for my friends. I have friends, and I'm connected with them. There's a part of me in all of this, and it's just I can't talk enough about Odyssey because it's that good. I look at all the Assassin's Creed games I've played. I've played Syndicate. I've played Black Flag. I've played a couple of those before. The American Revolution one, I've played that a little bit. But I love Odyssey. It is an I won't go back and play Syndicate because it's fine, whatever. I think I've beaten it almost. I'm nearly completed with it. But Odyssey is just fun to go back into. It's like Dragon Age Inquisition. I love going back into that game. I love going back and replaying. I love going back into Odyssey. I love going back into State of Decay 2. I love the games that I can, like Witcher 3. I love going back into that game.
But how many of them are there like that?
There are not a lot right now, and that's the part that's struggle busing because I'm hopeful. My fingers are crossed because a lot of the complaints about Assassin's Creed is it doesn't have enough of the Assassin's Creed in the recent games, which for me, it's just like, get over yourselves. how many game companies or game series can keep the original pieces in there and the common thread running?
Difficult.
Like Far Cry has clearly not been able to pull that off because the quality is just train wrecked.
They're over on.
They're in the corner. We put them in the corner for timeout for punishment. They're not allowed back on the podcast for a while, Chris.
I need a timeout, y'all.
Oh my lord!
Timeout. In the corner.
In the corner, and with the lights off.
Yes.
So they can calm themselves. So I'm excited about Assassin's Creed Japan.
That sounds cool.
It looks like they haven't released any footage yet, but they've announced it and they've talked about it. My hope is that they will follow the Odyssey map, because that game is it's huge, but the incidents and accidents and things that you take part in as the story goes, it's so varied, and your ship that you travel in is incredible. And so there's a lot of possibility for this game, that it could be the game that does it for me. This could be the game that brings me back and says, yeah, let's do this. Let's make this happen. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out.
Don't screw it up, Ubisoft.
I know. You'll
screw everything else up.
They mess everything else up. All right. Well, I think we've hit our limiters. I can't talk today. I think we've hit our limit, or what our conversations were about. There's not really a game I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'm worried about Starfield. I can't be confident about Starfield. It's like, ooh, no.
When I looked at it, it looked like an older version of No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
It's like super duper old looking.
Right. Well, and they've part of when I watched the trailer, and Angry Joe Show did a review of the trailer.
Yeah.
They talked about they're doing what No Man's Sky did. And they've adapted those pieces, which, if you're going to copy a successful game, No Man's Sky is the one to do. Like, don't copy Don't copy Star Citizen, because that game hasn't even gone, it's still in development. It's even though people are playing it, it's not a real game yet. It's just out there. You can.
We're annoyed.
Eternally annoyed, I think, is going to be. I'm hopeful for next week in 2 weeks we'll have something better to talk about. But I suspect it's not going to be anything new.
Nope.
Maybe we'll talk about role playing stuff. I'll drag Chris to treacherous waters and see if he can have some fun doing D&D.
I am considering doing it.
Hey, you want to let me know. We'll have something to talk about next time, because you'll be able to talk about your experience, whether you loved it or hated it, or
I'll probably like it.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of fun.
A bunch of nerds, and I'm getting to play with other nerds. That's kind of fun.
Nerds and community are important.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been a delightful podcast.
Yes, it has. I enjoyed it.
Next week, or in 2 weeks, who knows what we'll be talking about.
Yep.
Hopefully, we might do a moratorium on the Ubisoft, EA, and everybody else. We might just say, you know what, we're not going to talk about them. The problem is that may just take our content away, half of it.
It may, yeah.
Gone, and we won't have anything to talk about.
Yeah.
But
Maybe I'll go to GOG. Maybe I'll go over there. Maybe I could go over there and take a look. See what they got.
See what's on the old archive burner.
Maybe I could do that.
Okay. Well, we'll do a GOG run. See what we can find and play with and have fun with and talk about next time. All right. Well, on that delightful bombshell of a note, my name is Aaron.
My name is Chris.
And this has been the County Gamers. We're getting back on the highway. Hopefully you get back on your road and enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you and listen to you and hear you and whatever else we do in the next one. You've been listening to the County Gamers Podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts that are hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus here in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, the language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.